Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Alright, promoter Eddie Hearn recently gave an interview with Boxing Social, and he's been talking about the potential next fight, actually next fights for Dillian Whyte. Both of them could potentially be in America. Okay, now before I start talking about this, Dillian Whyte's an interesting one. Right, as far as I'm aware, right, Anthony Joshua still has one fight on his Sky deal. So when he fights Usyk, although Eddie Hearn has taken Matchroom to the zone, that's still going to be on Sky Box Office. With Dillian Whyte, I think he can kind of go back and forth between the two. I think if it's pay-per-view, maybe Sky have dibs on it, but if it's not, it's on the zone. Now, Eddie Hearn's named some names here, okay? Now, the name that I was thinking of was Charles Martin, because Charles Martin has called out Dillian Whyte a couple of times. I think Dillian Whyte has mentioned Charles Martin too. Well, Eddie Hearn has said that there may be two fights for Dillian Whyte in the UK. He's named, at the end of this year, Charles Martin and Chris Arreola as potential opponents for him in October or November. Now, Arreola really did do himself. Arreola turned back the years against Andy Ruiz. Well, I say turned back the years. Maybe he showed what he always had, but he was just too damn lazy in his prime. Because he actually came in, not in good shape by his standards, but by his standards in good shape anyway. He was in the 220s. And he actually had a bit of fire to him. I think at this stage it's too little too late for Arreola. It has to be said. He retired a couple of years ago. He's retired several times, I think. But Charles Martin is one of those fighters who's improved. Now, before I talk more about that, the actual date Eddie Hearn gave for Dillian Whyte's potential return is actually August 28. He wants him to have a fight in America against a guy called Jermaine Franklin. Now, I would imagine that will be on the zone. I cannot for the life of me see that on pay-per-view. I've seen Jermaine Franklin fight, and in the nicest way, he is not a good heavyweight. His last fight was against Pavel Sauers. That was in October 2019. So if this is true, it'd be near as makes no difference 2 years out of the ring. And against Pavel Sauers, he had him down in 2 rounds. He had him down in the 6th and the 10th. But it was not competitive. He won it clearly. But still, Pavel Sauers has been stopped in 2 rounds by Nathan Gorman. He was stopped in a round by Filip Hrgovic. He was also stopped by Hughie Fury. Yes, he did drop him, did Jermaine Franklin, but the fact he's being stopped earlier by lesser punchers, you know, because Nathan Gorman's not noted for being a puncher. Likewise, Hughie Fury. Hrgovic, yes, will obviously we know that, but still had a split decision against Jerry Forrest. You know, the judge who had Forrest winning, to be fair, only had him by a point. The other two had it 3 rounds to 7. But still, Jerry Forrest coming off a draw against Zhilei Zhang. Zhilei Zhang ain't nothing to write home about either. I'm surprised, actually, they're not doing that. You know, I don't tell. He's got the trailer now, actually. I was wondering about that, because I was thinking Zhilei Zhang, just, you know, put him out of his misery, feed him to Dillian Whyte, because he's not doing anything at heavyweight. No offense to the guy, but he had to go to hospital after that fight against Jerry. It was a great fight, by the way, and I thought that fight would be a stinker. That was a great fight. He also has a UD over Rydell Booker. He's not really been getting rid of a lot of these guys, and these are guys who've been stopped and been down. Like, I mean, Jerry Forrest always shown a decent set of whiskers. You know, obviously he was down a few times against Zhilei Zhang. Pavel Sauer's been stopped in all of his losses, apart from this. Rydell Booker's been stopped a few times. You know, Craig Lewis, had he been stopped? The name doesn't ring any bells, Craig Lewis. No, to be fair, he'd never been stopped. To be fair, went the distance with Takam, Junior Fa. Although, to be fair, none of them are really noted punchers. So, you know, it's not a great resume. As I said, I've seen Jermaine Franklin a few times. He's nothing to write home about. Having said all that, with Dillian Whyte, I think he's due. As long as this isn't pay-per-view, which I don't think it will be. I would imagine this is just going to be on the zone. They'll probably do standard the zone. Especially if it's in America, they're not going to do that on pay-per-view at stupid o'clock in the morning against someone like that. They're not going to do it. Dillian Whyte's due an easy fight. It has to be fair to him. He's due an easy fight. Let's just assess. I know Dillian Whyte's resume. Let's just assess what he's done over the last few years, right? August last year, he got knocked out brutally by Povetkin. Avenged that loss this year, okay? Prior to that, he had a short notice fight against Mariusz Wach. Mariusz Wach's a fringe contender, but very tough, very durable, had a tough fight there. prior to that, had a fight against Oscar Rivas, which he boxed well, but he was down in that fight. Oscar Rivas is still a very, very good fighter. Top 15 heavyweight, if you want to call him a heavyweight, not a bridgerweight. Top 15. You could say that. Definitely top 20. Surely top 20. Right, so very, very good, very tough fight. He had Derek Chisora at the end of 2018. Again, very, very tough fight, very hard fight, competitive fight. Coming off the back of that, he had Joseph Parker, which was a fantastic fight. We all enjoyed that. I can't stress how impressive it is that Dillian Whyte is actually taking these fights. He is winning them. He's having tough times winning them, but they're all tough fights. So you gotta say, Dillian Whyte, after the last 3 years, he's due an easy. He's due a fight that, you know, it's like, okay, go in there, get your win. I hope they do Charles Martin, because I think that's an interesting little scrap. Because Dillian Whyte, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say this now. I think Dillian Whyte is past his best. I wouldn't be surprised if Dillian Whyte is on the shot-worn end of things now. Some people would say, gee, look at what he did against Povetkin. Look how impressive that was. Povetkin has been looking terrible for the last few years. Like, he looked terrible against Michael Hunter. He looked... People use the you-know-what excuse to say that's why he lost to Dillian Whyte. What? He looked every bit as bad in the first fight until he landed that shot as he did in the rematch. The difference in the rematch was Dillian Whyte was more defensively sound and he had a chip on his shoulder. So that was fine. But I think that the fights Dillian Whyte's had over the years, the tough fights, I reckon that in terms of his peak, he's probably gone past that. Dillian Whyte, lest we forget, he is mandatory for the WBC World Heavyweight title. So theoretically speaking, let's just say it like this, right? If AJ loses to Usyk, and there is a rematch clause in the contract, I believe there is, AJ will have to have the rematch. That's fine. Tyson Fury, let's say Tyson Fury beats Deontay Wilder. He will then, I would imagine, be obligated to make a defence of that WBC title. There's your shot, Dylan. There's your fight with Tyson Fury. There's your WBC title crack, which you have been yearning for the last 4 years. 4+ years, maybe. So that's probably what Dillian Whyte's looking at. He doesn't want... Because I'd love to see the Parker rematch, for example. We're not going to see that. And I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon. Because I think with Dillian Whyte, he's going to look at that and think, why do I need to risk going in with Joseph Parker? He nearly beat me the first time. That was 3 years ago. Why do I need to do that again? Why don't I just fight, you know, this Jermaine Franklin guy? It's an easy fight. Get out, you know, dust off the cobwebs over in America. Charles Martin's a trickier fight than Chris Arreola, in my opinion. Charles Martin, people have that memory of Anthony Joshua, of him walking this earth like a god, you know, getting stopped in 2 rounds. He's improved since then. He has. Make no mistake about it. Charles Martin, he's not a world beater, right? But a lot of these heavyweights, a lot of these kind of fringe world level heavyweights, if you look back at like the 90s, a lot of them have good wins. Was Michael Bennett ever a top level heavyweight? No. He beat Tommy Morrison, and Tommy Morrison was considered in the 90s one of the better ones. You know, was Axel Schultz ever a top heavyweight? No, he arguably beat George Foreman. You know, who else are we looking at? I'm just trying to think. You know, just I know my 90s heavyweights, but we'll say, like, look at Vladimir Klitschko. Right, at the time he was seen as, you know, the next big thing. Went into Corey Saunders, who was at the end of his career. Corey Saunders wasn't the top heavyweight at the time. Boom. Took care of Vladimir Klitschko decisively, more so than anyone's ever done before. So that's heavyweight boxing in a nutshell. Martin's improved. He's improved dramatically since he fought Anthony Joshua. You can see it in him, and he's shown heart, which is what people questioned about him in the AJ fight. He didn't have the heart. He's shown heart. So him against Dillian Whyte is a good little scrap. I wouldn't mind seeing it. I think it's competitive. I think that's a very competitive fight. I think that Charles Martin, his defense is still questionable. I think that Charles Martin takes a decent shot, to be fair. Like, he took plenty of punches against Kalnacki. I'd say Martin doesn't take a bad shot. You know, I'm not going to say he's got an iron chin, certainly not. But yeah, I'd say his chin is on the average to above average side of the spectrum, I would imagine. So him again, and definitely Martin, right? We can say definitely, I reckon Martin can punch. In that left hand, in that straight left hand, there's a bit of power there. So you never know. Dillian Whyte, how many southpaws has he faced? Just thinking off the top of my head, how many southpaws has Dillian Whyte faced? Parker's not a southpaw. Brown's not a southpaw. Chisora's not a southpaw. Wack's not a southpaw. Povetkin's not a southpaw. Joshua, when's the last time he fought a southpaw? I can't think. Certainly, if he fought any southpaws, they weren't decent level southpaws. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Rivas isn't the southpaw. I'm sure Rivas isn't the southpaw. I'm sure Rivas is orthodox. So not many southpaws for Dillian Whyte. So that'd be an interesting fight. As I said, Dillian Whyte is mandatory for the WBC, so I would imagine he's going to sit on that, take these interim kind of fights, you know, fights that he really should win. Although the Martin fight is competitive, make no mistake about that. So, you know, I'd be up for it. No, I'd definitely be up for it. I think that Dillian Whyte's left hook against Charles Martin would cause Martin some havoc, and I reckon Dillian Whyte hits hard. And I think with Dillian Whyte in that left hook has plenty of power. He'll definitely be able to hurt Charles Martin. Definitely, actually. So I wouldn't mind seeing it. In terms of the Jermaine Franklin fight, as long as it's not, they wouldn't be on pay-per-view. It's probably be on standard DAZN. It's £2 a month. You can't really complain. And yeah, look, it's in America. It's in America. DAZN have been very good to us over here in Ireland and the UK. They have. It has to be said. But if you don't like DAZN, at least over here for the times, they've been very good. You know, if they have a card on in America and it is a big card, and say it's cutting in with like Showtime, PBC, or something like that, they'll put it on at like 5 o'clock in the daytime there, but it's 11 o'clock at night here. That's like, you can't complain about that. Like, we got Ryan Garcia at 11 o'clock versus Luke Campbell. We got that Demetrius Andre versus Liam Williams fight on at normal time. We got Hai Mungi a few weeks ago. You can't complain about that at the end of the day. For £2 a month still, for not for long, it's probably going to go up, but nevertheless, can't really complain. So, Dillian Whyte, yeah, he's due an easy fight. This Jermaine Franklin guy, I don't think he's going to cause any great upset, but hey, saying that, that's how upsets happen. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, of course you haven't already. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think, like me, Dillian Whyte has maybe seen better days? I just think that the fact he's had so many hard fights, maybe the sands running out a bit in the career in the hourglass. Saying that, I do like watching Dillian Whyte. You know, I really do. I've always liked watching Dillian Whyte. He's a good fighter. So, as long as he's in good fights, I'm happy. And at the end of the day, as I said, he's been in enough competitive fights. Give him an easy fight. He's owed that, you know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. #GMansRocks, all that good stuff. For now, lads and lads, I'll talk to you. Peace.